and gentlemen. Check. Niner 77.
We have new batteries
What's your
in
vector, Victor?
in our recorder, so
Yeah.
Our audio should be great.
Should be good. Last week, our batteries, if you listen to our episode, it went from very clear and nice to
Sound like we were talking into a tin
in
can.
like a tuna can. Our batteries died in our thing. These are just the things that happen in life, you know, and it is what it is. So that's one thing that I'm really proud of with what we're doing and what we've done and what we continue to do is we just do it, right? A lot of people wait for the perfect time, the perfect thing, and it doesn't ever come. And strongly encourage you guys to just go, even if it's not perfect all the time.
Progress over perfection.
Correct. So today's episode, we're doing a Q&A. And you guys gave us some doozies. We have some doozies here.
I always think people will go like full send.
I think people are
when
nervous.
given the opportunity, but they don't.
Hit us in the comments, guys, wherever you're watching this, if it's YouTube. I'm really interesting because like there are a lot of very generic questions. Some are good, you know what I mean? And but I think
we appreciate all of them, but
we like all of them. But like I just would be, I'm far more introspective when I ask questions. Like whenever my friends do Q&A, it's always like, hey, how do you make $1 million? Whatever. I'm like, what's your biggest fear? Or like, what's the number one thing on your bucket list that you haven't done yet? You know what I mean? Things like that I want to get to know the person. I want to get to know the people. Anyways, you guys got some awesome questions, but don't be nervous to ask us questions. Don't be nervous to ask anybody questions. I heard this the other day. Somebody sent me a comment or sent me a message about how, she felt that some people were really nervous to ask me and talk to me about certain things. And I get that. I understand that, right? We think that somehow somebody's going to bite our head off or somebody's going to whatever. But maybe that's what you need. Like my belief system is like, if you're not willing to ask questions, like you're never going to progress. But you can't be afraid to ask questions. I get this. I've been scared to ask questions. I'm the guy in the room with 500 other people and you're like, okay, well, Q&A time. You don't want to look dumb, right? But I kind of proved this point with Bobby Castro. So Bobby Castro was at Ryan Stewman's event. You weren't there. Were you there? No, you weren't there. Bobby Castro, great guy, billionaire, super cool dude. He was speaking at he was speaking at Ryan Stewman's event, and they were doing this little intimate Q&A. There's probably about 100 people in the room, and they were asked questions. All these guys were like money and business and tax things and this, that, and the other, and all this other stuff. And I raised my hand. I'm like, what do you and your wife fight about? And how do you guys resolve it? And it was funny because like everybody in the room, like the slow head turn, like, what did you say? Sean Whalen, and I'm like, yo, I want to know that. Like, yeah, Bobby, cool. You make a ton of money. Great. Like, you know, I watch all your videos and you talk about that shit. That's what I want to know. Like, you're at a different level emotionally, psychologically, financially, spiritually than a lot of people. I'm sure you and your wife have disagreements. Like, I want to know like that personal type of growth process, right?
For sure.
Anyways, we're going to do Q&A today.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start off with these, babe. You ready?
Uh-huh.
This one's going to be for the single folks. So this is actually really good for everybody.
Ladies.
This is good for everybody, I think. The question was questions to ask when dating. And if you're married and you're still dating, then here we go. Questions to ask when dating, babe. Start for the single people. Do version 1 and version 2.
Yeah, single people, I would say, what are your interests in dating? Like, do you want to be married? Are you interested in having children? Do you want a family? Like, I like to go straight to the extremes.
Yeah, those aren't extremes though. Those are real life.
No, but a lot of people, I feel like, don't go there because it's like, oh, I don't want to be too pushy. I don't want to scare them off. Like, so they won't ask those questions because they're worried they'll scare people off. But if those questions scare you off, God bless you.
Yeah.
You know, because
I agree.
Like I did that with you. It was very clear. We did a whole podcast on this. I was very clear what I wanted.
We were very blunt when we were dating.
Yeah.
Like our first date, we went on a Harley ride up to the mountains and sat next to a lake. And I was like, talking to you about God and your fears and your past and things and
well, not necessarily past, but more of like I think you want to know about my experiences in certain things, like not like, oh, tell me about your past, like, oh, please don't sit down on a date and
no, I didn't ask about that.
Yeah,
I think it's important too when you're dating, like Zach said, to like look what's your intent here. And that might take a lot of people off guard, but why, if your intent is one and theirs is another, then why wouldn't you want to get that out of the way first? Because physically, look, the physical connection and the sexual connection is basically instantaneous, right? You're either, this person's hot or they're not. And you typically don't go out with people that you're not attracted to. So kind of like aspect number one of dating, check, I'm attracted to you. You're fucking hot. Okay, cool. I would love to see you naked. Now that we got that out of the way, like, are you interested in finding a relationship, or are we here to be fuck buddies? Like, what is it? Get right down to it. I truly believe that's what a lot of people struggle with, and that's why they struggle with dating, because it's like, oh, we've been dating for 3 or 4 months, and then you just told me that they're not really interested in marriage, but I want marriage. It's like, well, why didn't you fucking talk about that in the beginning, you know? Now, let's talk questions for married couples. What do you got? Fire away. Couple good questions for married couples.
Wait, I don't understand the question.
Questions when you're dating for married people.
So like when we're on date night?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry. I was like, I don't understand. I always like to ask Sean, like, how does your heart feel right now? Instead of like, what are you thinking about? Yeah. Because sometimes that like almost triggers like, oh, let me tell you what I'm thinking about, and it's all like all this stuff from the day. But I like to ask you, like, where's your heart at? How does your heart feel?
Yeah.
And it's like a weird question, because like, where's my heart at? And then it prompts, like, it kind of opens up, because it's not a very direct question. I like asking you that one a lot.
I think one of the things that I ask Saxony a lot about is business, which is good, because a lot of times I'll struggle with, you come home and it's like, hey, how was your day? Da, da, da. And you're like, dude, I don't want to talk about it. I'm just like, over today. I want to shut my brain off. But when we're dating, like on date nights, I'll be like, hey, here's what I'm thinking about doing with this, or what about this, or what about this, or what are your thoughts around this, or whatever, which is really me bringing you into a lot of what's going on in my business mind without needing it being like some arduous thing where I have to answer all of your questions. So guys, a little tip for you is, bring your wife into your dating, or when you're dating her by doing date night, talk about business, bring it up, like share your thoughts and your feelings and where you're at and what you're going through and what you're experiencing. And then obviously get her insight. And I think that'll help kind of bond you guys a little bit more, especially around the business if your wife's not involved with your business.
I also like when you ask me, or when I like to ask you, excuse me, like what's been the coolest thing that's happened this week for you?
Yeah.
Or like what's been your favorite part so far this week?
Yeah.
I like to bring up things that will promote or provoke a good thought and a good feeling from you, not like trigger stress. So if you can't tell, I just feel like,
good shit.
Those things.
Okay, next question. This one's for you. How does Sean make you feel seen and heard?
A very tangible, easy one is date night. That, because you're not necessarily very good at picking up on like subtle cues of things, because you're just like, you've got 50 things going on and you're like multitasking like crazy. So on a normal basis, sometimes I'm like, hello, but the date night once a week, and it's for a couple hours once a week, like that, I know that that's when you are like, okay, shut off the other 50 things going on. Mm-hmm. I can see and hear and be with you now. Now, if something comes up during the week, it's not like you dismiss me. I just have to be very clear with what I need from you. I can't be, so I would say that date night is like the number one thing, because I know it's coming. If I really want to share something, or if I really need more of you or whatever it may be, I know that time is for us. And so that actually alleviates a lot of the times that I could be like, oh, I don't feel seen, I don't feel heard, because I know that date night happens every week.
Good. What are some of the systems to keep pushing each other without overstepping? I like this one. Like, I'll take this one. What are some of the systems to keep pushing each other without overstepping? I don't know about systems, but what I know about is communication. One of the things that I believe firmly in is like obviously encouragement, but pointing out what you like and what you don't like, both sides of the thing, like having a structure or having a system or having like conversation around these things, I think makes it really simple. So when I highlight what I like or what's going on that I appreciate, that obviously gives you the knowledge of, oh, okay, cool. He likes this. It's kind of like sex, right? Like, hey, I like this, do more of this. Like, we're so afraid to communicate in that reality, you get really exactly what you want. So I feel like without overstepping, you can't really overstep if you're communicating, right? If I want more of this, I don't like this, show me more of this, do less of this kind of a deal. And I think that's the best way to do it. What do you think, babe? What are some of the systems to keep pushing each other without overstepping?
Well, we have the system that we do have in place is Core 4,
right,
which is what you coach on in the Lion's Den, which is power, passion, purpose, and production. And basically that's like every bucket of life,
right?
You know, so it's like the relationships, your body, your mindset and spirituality, and then your business. And so we have that, even though, you know, Sean and I don't necessarily like map it out every day. We live by Core 4. And so with all those
between
things
us, like I have mine mapped out every day, and
right. But what I'm saying though is like, so we both know we're running off those systems.
Right.
And so for instance, like you're very, like, we're really, really honest. Like this morning you came to me and you're like, hey, I feel like you don't have much of a system right now with certain things. And you pointed out to where like you were trying to help me, but I could have totally taken offense to it. Right. Like, oh, you know, structuring days better to get things done at the house. Right. Which is totally true, because I tend to focus, I fall more into power and production really easily. Like I can take care of my body, and
gym, right.
I love going to the gym and I love building businesses. And so sometimes, you know, other things I'll struggle in other areas, right? But you're really good at pointing that out. So I would say that's our system. And so just highlighting whichever bucket is kind of like falling short in a loving way. We're really open to that though, because, you know, like we know that if either of us are going to say something, we're saying it for the benefit.
Sure.
We're not saying it to be a jerk.
Yeah. Amen. Next question from our good friend Jed. Explain how you stay above the shit when people close to you are dragging you through it. Do you want to go first on that one?
Yeah, okay. Sure. Well, for starters, I would never say that I'm being drugged through anything.
Babe, you're so smart. That was what I was going to say. We didn't even
rehearse apples?
This, but go ahead.
So, because I am very much about radical accountability. And so I do very, very rarely find myself in a victim mentality, right? But it's like if someone is trying to drag me through the mud, I get to choose if I'm going down there with them and I'm going to participate in that. So I can't be held accountable for what people do or say or what goes on in the world, because truly that's a reflection of where anybody else is, and their behavior is a reflection of themselves. So to me, it's like, how do I want to show up? And the truth is I know who I am. I know my intentions. I know my heart. I know my truth. And so therefore it's like, if someone wants to try and harm me or my family in whatever way this trying to harm is, they're not going to.
Yeah.
Because I'm just not going to give them that power.
Yeah. So the question was, explain how you stay above the shit when people close to you are trying to drag you through it. My thought process was the same. Like, you can't, it's the old saying, like, you wrestle with the pigs, you're going to get dirty. So just don't wrestle with the pigs if you don't want to get dirty. This is how it works, right? You wrestle with the pigs, you're going to get dirty. You don't want to get dirty? Don't wrestle with the pigs. So for me, it's like, we've experienced this recently in the sense that a lot of people got mad all over the place, yada, yada, yada. And for us, it's like, we know about it. We acknowledge it. We see it. We just carry on, right? I think a lot of times people want to bring you into their misery or their frustration. Misery loves company, right? When you're operating at a different frequency, number one, it's not that you can't see it. And I want to make this clear, because like, you see things, but how you respond to them is where you are. And that's, I think, what recently, as we've seen some of this chaos and quote unquote drama, it's funny because a lot of people are like, oh, I can't believe you're dealing with all this drama. And you and I are like, there's no drama here. Like, we're just doing our life. And seems to be like a lot of other people are in drama and in chaos. Sure. We're not there. Right. And so as you're operating at a different frequency, if you're evolving and growing and focusing on certain things, like our progression, like our family, like our businesses, like our growth, you really can't get drugged down into the shit. It's typically the people that don't have a whole lot going on that seem to be dragging each other or wading around in this shit stew. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But those of us that are building things, that have businesses, that have tables, that are providing value to the marketplace, like, you don't find yourself in a whole lot of drama.
Right. Well, and you only have so many minutes in it each day.
Right.
And to me, it's like, do I want to dedicate my time and energy to be focused on like crabs in a bucket?
Right.
And perspectives that aren't necessarily fact.
Sure.
So, I mean, I can go and spend my energy on these things, or
Right.
I can go and spend time with my children, and I can focus on building our businesses. I can focus on, having more quality time with you. I can focus on playing with my dogs. Like, I mean, there's like 10 million things that I could do that
Right.
I will find way more joy in than dealing with that. And I think that this happens to every single person in life, right? Because it's like that it gets on your nerve, because it's like, I think it's natural for the ego to want to go and defend yourself, because you're like, are you freaking kidding me? But it's like, okay, do I need to defend myself? Because I love a good like fight, like, because I'm a very prideful, like, I mean, I love myself. I appreciate.
Sure, you don't like to be attacked.
You know, and I'm like,
attacks you, like, fuck you.
Yeah,
You know?
more so when someone attacks my people, then I'm like, oh gosh,
Yeah.
hold it back.
No.
But it's like true. It's like I don't want to spend my life doing that.
Sure.
Because it will come to all of us at some point in time. And I also, it's like, I've talked to the kids about it. It's like, be the better person in things.
Right.
And what does that actually mean?
Right. Let me say one more thing to this. You don't have anything to prove to anybody. If somebody decides to come online and say that you're an asshole, okay, cool. That's your opinion. If somebody comes online and says you're a scam artist, you're a fraud, you're a piece of shit, be like, okay, what does that have to do with me? Like, that's your opinion. Like, that has nothing. You really don't need to entertain every single thing. I've learned this through the years of being quote unquote out there and having a public profile and a public like image and persona. I know that. I get it. I don't shy away from that. I catch a lot of shit, right? But I don't have to entertain it. Like, a lot of people through some recent, experience were like, the sound is the lack of response is deafening, or the sound is deafening, or what did they say? How did they say it? Silence is deafening, or whatever. It's just hilarious, because it's like somehow people think that because they want to pick a fight with you that you're required to fight. You're not. You really don't need to. And so understand that, guys. Somebody can come at you and say, hey, you're an asshole, you're this, you scam this guy, you're crappy, your marriage sucks. Be like, okay, cool. What's that got to do with me? Carry on, right? Yeah. I've learned that here in the last probably 2 weeks. I shouldn't say learned it, but it's been reaffirmed to me. I don't need to say anything. Like, my results speak for themselves. My life speaks for itself. Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of times you really don't need to get involved with stuff, even though your ego wants to. This is like where I get to hold Sax back sometimes.
Everybody's ego.
Your ego wants to, but at the same time, like, a lot of times just carrying on with your life is the most peaceful, amazing, joyful thing to do. And,
and also having, like, to me, it's like having a gratitude for life, like showing you these things, right? It's like when anybody's hating on anybody, it's just such a reflection of some type of pain within themselves. Yep. Because whenever I've pointed the finger at someone else, it's that blame shame game, right? And it's like there's something inside of me that's really hurting, and I'm trying to alleviate that pain and suffering by making someone else the culprit of it, so I don't have to look at something. And I'm not deflecting that, like, people don't have responsibilities in life. Sure. But what I am saying is it's very much a choice to go and put negativity out there about another person, because you sure as shit better be perfect. You sure as shit better never have fucked up in life if you're going to start casting stones out there. Because the truth is we're all human beings, and maybe it's best to just find love in your heart and go see a therapist and find a good friend that's not co-signing on your bullshit, and, like, go love life. Yeah. Okay? Like, because we can hate all day long. I mean, look at the media. The media loves this energy.
All they're selling you, perpetuating it.
Right. And so
be
it's
mad,
like,
be mad, be mad. Be
when
mad at this guy
people do
today.
that, I'm like, you're behaving like the media.
Right.
And it's just like, I don't want to be a part of that vibration. Like, I just don't.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
Amen.
And so I choose not to.
Amen. Mike, says, is anything more important than truth in a relationship?
No.
I concur. No. Simple as that. When Sax and I were dating, we had a very simple communication. Like, we care more about the truth than we do the emotions and the feelings. Now, we're both very emotional and we're both very feely creatures.
Sensitive.
But we both signed off and agreed that the truth trumped all of it.
Mm-hmm.
As long as we had truth, we would be able to make it through. As long as we had truth, we would be able to work. So,
right. And I want to add to that, though, sometimes you say things or you behave a certain way and then you realize later, like, oh, that wasn't actually my truth.
Right.
Like, that was, maybe I was triggered or maybe whatever. I like to go back and revisit it and almost like say, hey, what I shared back then, that wasn't actually my truth. This is where I was coming from. I was coming from a place of pain, or I was coming from a place of insecurity, whatever it is. And then I like to even make it more truthful, because sometimes you think you're being truthful and then the truth is actually, that's not as truthful as now it's truthful because I've chilled out or whatever it is.
There's a lot of truthfuls in there.
I know. I like to keep, though, it's almost like turning myself in, like, hey, I want to be more truthful. This actually happened. So because I'm so in love with the idea, or not the idea, the way we are always trying to be as truthful as possible.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. Good answer. Okay, this is from a guy, and I want you to answer this one.
Okay.
Because you're a gal, and you probably have emotions and thoughts around this, okay? So Alex says, best way to tell your spouse to do better or more when it comes to exercise so it's not so blunt.
Why won't you be blunt? I mean, if you were getting fat, I would tell you, Sean, you're getting fat. Like, you need to, how can I help you? Do you want to go to the gym for date night?
Well, why don't you stop buying cookies and I won't get fat? You're the enabler.
But you're not getting fat, so.
I know.
So, okay, and this is a real thing, is like, I want you, if I'm slacking or if I'm this, like, I want you to be like, hey, Sax, like, your butt's looking saggy. I do. Is that weird?
I really think most people want that, and I think if they get offended, it's just for a moment, right? Because the truth of the matter is, I don't think anybody wants to hear that. But the reality is, if you're in a relationship and you love somebody and you're confidants with each other, you're willing to tell each other the truth, I would want you to tell me that, and I would tell you that. I would have no questions. I would.
You could give them a shit sandwich. You don't have to just give them shit. Shit sandwiches when you say something nice, you say the thing that's probably gonna hurt their feelings, but for their benefit, and then you end it with something positive or nice. It's a shit sandwich.
Sax calls these shit sandwiches.
I learned it in corporate America. That's what managers do. It's a thing. So maybe that,
I skip the sandwich part and I just give you the meat right in the middle. Here you go.
I know, hey, a little sugar with that medicine would be super great. But so I would say that, because it's like with anything else, if they're on some wacky medication or you think their hormones are off because of birth control or this or that medication, it's like, I would also say that.
Yeah.
You're not on birth control, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I would be honest, because this is your person, and sometimes they're not seeing where they're slipping, and I don't know, like, I want to be my best self, and sometimes I don't see that all the time.
Yeah, I like that answer. Next question. This is a good one. Is it possible to be in a healthy marriage with one who has different religious beliefs? Let me take this one to start.
Sure.
I will say this. I grew up in a home where my dad was Catholic and my mom was Mormon, and I will say though that their marriage might not be the great exemplar reality here, because they ended up getting divorced. But what I will say is that I did watch them function, and they both had a lot of respect for the other, in the sense that, my dad was Catholic. He never really went to the Mormon church. My mom was Catholic, who then became Mormon. She went to the Mormon church and the Catholic church. So there was never really friction growing up with that. We never really talked about it a lot, but I will say that I did see that. And now, being in a position where I'm really not going to church, I'm amazingly spiritual and very connected to God and the conversation and Christianity and the whole thing. I'm just not aligned with the church right now. But my ex-wife is still very religious in the Mormon faith. Mm-hmm. And I think we do a really good job not stepping on each other's toes. Like, she does what she does, I do what I do. And I think we both have respect for that. She might not like it some ways, drinking whiskey, smoking cigars. It's kind of taboo with the Mormon Church. But what I will say is if you communicate, and I think if you have respect for one another, you can make that work for sure. I mean, Sax and I are very, very, very spiritual. We're not religious. Like, we've gone to church a handful of times together. We pray at meals, we pray together. Like, it's not, something that is awkward or weird, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't think you need to be the same religion. I think that if one person believes in God and one person doesn't believe in God, that's an extreme that I would feel like would be really difficult. But I feel like as long as there's like a basis of God in your household and like God can be found in whatever form, I think that's all you really need.
Yeah.
'Cause I think so.
Okay. One more. This is a good one. This is the last question. Did you or Sax compromise anything in your lives? I.e., say one wants to live in the country versus one wants to live in the city. Like, when we were dating and we got together, did one of us compromise something for the other?
Yeah. Because I mean, I'm going to speak for you on this, but you didn't really want to get like
married.
Married.
You
didn't really want to get married, and you really didn't want to get legally married.
I told myself that. I was like, I'm not going to get married. But, like, I'm straight, I'm good, like, whatever.
Yeah, right. But it was a thing, and I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'm not interested in playing house, so what do you want to do about that? But I did believe that you did want to get married. Yeah. Because all of your actions showed that you wanted to be married, but you had this like funny front that I don't know. Maybe it was shame on me for like thinking I could change you, because it wasn't. No, it really wasn't that. I just didn't believe. Yeah. Like that you didn't. Like,
I want to say something to that though, because you look at compromise and like, what does that really mean, right? Yeah. Or when you talk about like trying to persuade somebody, this, that, or the other. I think when you get together with somebody, like, you might be off on this region over here. Like, I could care less about making feathers and feather earrings and all this other crap. That's what you like. Cool, great, whatever. But I think when you get together with somebody, when you think about the word compromise, it's almost like I'm lessening something to go be with this person. But the reality is you can continue to do what you do, be how you want to be. Like, hey, if I want to live in the city and you want to live in the country, great. I think a great relationship is let's do both, because then we can give you the country fix, we can get the city fix, and we both win, right? So if you think about like compromise, it's almost like, well, how do we build a life that we both get what we want, we both experience what we want, we both love what we have? You know what I mean? And I think that's where you and I have shown up a lot, is like, this is what we want to build, this is where we want to be, and we do it.
Yeah. Another thing we compromised, which was, I don't know if it was necessarily a compromise, but I had my own businesses when we were together. Yeah. And when we
were dating.
Yeah. When we got married, I think it was even when we got engaged, I basically retired my real estate business and my staging company, because we knew that we were going to build together. Right. And it wasn't that I was like, oh, do I? It was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to build a life with you. Yeah. And I had a really successful businesses, but I wanted to build a life with my husband. Yeah. And so, and I've never really thought twice about it. I was like, okay, great. Yeah. And other than that, and Sean had to compromise by getting a new house, because I was not going to live
that's a different story. Yeah.
I was not going to live in our old house for more than a year.
Bachelor pad. She was not having the bachelor pad.
No, I did not want to live in Sean's. Bachelor It was pad. Cute though. When we moved out, I think I threw away probably 15 lava lamps.
I like lava lamps, man. I still like lava lamps. More
Christmas lights than I've seen anywhere in the world. Dude, maybe Walmart has as many Christmas lights as you.
I love Christmas lights and lava lamps. I had lava lamps all over my house, man. They're great. I still want one. I just haven't had time to go to Amazon and buy them. There's actually one more question. One more. And I
feel like we have more questions.
We'll finish with this one. No.
Okay.
This is a good one. Well, I want us to both talk about this. Our mental health struggles are making going all in hard. We both want to make us succeed and thrive. Our mental health struggles are making going all in hard. We both want to make us succeed and thrive. What do you think around that?
I feel like as long as your goal and your intention together is to be all in, bringing in outside resources like a coach is a really good way to stay focused on the all in while maybe healing or dealing with some mental health issues, because I can see how that can like I don't know what it is specifically, but outside resources like a coach or coaches are great because they can give you tools, they can also like ease a lot of maybe things that are going on that are in your mind that are disconnecting you, right? And kind of put you back on the rails and simplify a lot of the nonsense that comes up, right?
Yeah.
Of like why I can't be all in, if it's insecurities, if it's whatever. But I think it's like when people say, do your best. Well, your best is different every day.
Right.
Today my best might not be anything compared to what it is tomorrow. So if you're focused on being all in today and whatever that is, if that's just saying, hey, I feel super disconnected. I'm feeling whatever. And just speaking truth is being all in with your partners. You're committing to being truthful. And so even if you just like take this big, like maybe take it down that it's not as big of a thing, it might make it more manageable.
Yeah. I have an interesting thought on this, and this might upset some people, and that's totally fine. I think in general, what is mental health? Like, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole on that, but I think a lot of people, and I see a lot of people using mental health or this quote unquote theme of mental health as an excuse. What does that really mean? If you are there, if you're mentally handicapped, right, it is what it is. But if you're not, and you struggle with fear, you struggle with anxiety, you struggle with the past, you struggle with trauma, you struggle with these things, like you have to get to a place where you no longer do. Like, I just want to be super clear on this, because this question kind of irks me in the sense where it's like, well, I'm going to use something from my past as a reason why I'm not all in.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I want to be really clear on this, because like I see this happening more and more and more, where you're talking about people that are afraid to go do something that scares them, and they use mental health as an excuse, or they can't really be honest with their lover because the mental health issue, and it might trigger them or affect them or whatever. You're talking about human interaction. You're talking about human experience, right? We all have emotions. We all have feelings. We all have a past. We all have these things. And if I was to use mental health, again, I'm being wildly blunt with this, and I am very sensitive to the fact that like there are people with legitimate like mental issues. But if you constantly are using the mental health excuse of why you're not facing your fears, why you're not overcoming your past, why you're not all in with your lover, why you're not living a life that you want to live, at some point in time, you've got to pause and go, okay, maybe it's like me just being lazy. Maybe it's me not actually being honest. Maybe it's me being afraid of something. But at some point in time, you have to stop using the mental health excuse. And this question it's a very interesting one, because if you're talking about two human beings and you're like, we're struggling going all in together because of our mental health, what is that really saying? It's like, I don't really want to face my shit, or he doesn't want to face his shit, or we don't want to face our shit because we might trigger each other. Welcome to marriage. Welcome to a fucking relationship 101. I trigger Saxony beyond anything she's ever experienced.
That's what all intimate relationships
Saxony
do.
triggers me and brings out more of my past, my shit, my fears, my anxiety.
And why?
Ever,
but why
right?
is it like, why does that happen? It's so beautiful when you can actually see it for what it is. It's because your partner is giving you the opportunity, if they are meaning to or not, to heal whatever it is that's obviously still hurting.
Right.
That they're the only person that can actually bring that up for you. Like, you can be so healed and everything's great until you get into an intimate relationship, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, all this stuff that I didn't even know is still there is here. And so now what are you going to do with it? And so it's actually like awesome, because you get to practice healing.
There's a lot of people that we coach. There's a lot of people in my group. I've seen this happen a lot, and it's happening more and more and more. And I truly believe that it's like a really big problem right now is people are using mental health as a cop-out for actually doing hard work. And again, you're going to fall on one side or the other with this. You're either going to agree with me or you're going to think I'm the biggest asshole on planet Earth. I don't really care either way. What I will say is how much more today are we hearing mental health than 5 years ago? It's damn near like in your face above everything. Like you can see somebody that gets offended by something and they start screaming about their mental health and you're like traumatizing me and all this other crap. We watched that video the other day. We watched Candace Owens with this girl that got up, and Candace Owens, God bless her, I love her. And the girl was like, you know, how are you going to address the people that are truly traumatized by you being here?
The trans people
that you're traumatizing by just being here. And what did she say?
She said, get a dang helmet. I'm too pregnant for this shit.
Yeah. She's literally like, dude, welcome to life. Get a damn helmet. I'm too pregnant for this shit. So at the end of the day, you know what?
It's like, she's a savage.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that. I've probably offended people, and it's whatever. It is what it is.
Wouldn't be the first time, babe.
I say this with love and compassion, and very much
you
being
just
a real
you know what
human being.
You are really 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 good at pulling people out of their stories, because 99% of people in your life will co-sign that your behavior and your whatever it is just because of all of the things that have happened to you in life. And you see this is why misery loves company. It's like people love to co-sign on your bullshit. Yeah. And you don't co-sign on anybody's bullshit.
I want to say this too, because like this is a little asterisk. This is a little, beyond the Q&A. I've been coaching people for 10 years. I've had coaches for 10 years, right? Mm-hmm. I've never professed to have every answer. I'm not even close. I am just a nomad running through life, just banging up against everything that I can, learning everything that I can, right? But I have seen this firsthand, and I believe this is an epidemic. People have been trying to heal for years and years and years and years and years. Listen to me. If you're a grown-up and you still have childhood trauma and you're like 45 years old and you're not getting better and you're not overcoming it, like maybe it's time to pump the brakes and step back and go, oh shit, like maybe I'm addicted to this. Because I can tell you right now that there are people, I've seen this countless times, that are as addicted to their stories and their shit as a heroin junkie is to heroin. I truly believe, as God is my witness, that there are people that use mental health as a cop-out to not overcome their fears. There's people that literally use like these trauma-based things that you've been talking about for years, man. Like, you've seen every therapist there is to see. You've done ayahuasca. You've tried psilocybin. You've done electric shock therapy. Maybe it's time to just say, hey, I'm an addict to this. Like, it's time to get rid of this story and rewrite the story. Yeah. I don't know. Call me a dick. Call me whatever. I don't really care.
No, I think that there are mental health issues, like you said. But I would say a lot of the people, are stuck in stories. Yeah. And that's the taking control of your life. That's like taking the control back of your life. It's like planting your flag. Like, listen,
I'm passionate about this, man, because I've been there.
Yes, these things happened to me in my childhood. Yes, they still come up for me. But what am I going to do differently?
Right.
Because when you start doing 1% different every single time something comes 100%. Up, eventually you're going to be in a different place than repeating the same thing. And that's the responsibility of an adult.
Yeah.
Is to make the changes. Yes, things will still come up for you. Welcome to freaking life. Right. Like we all have small T traumas, they call it, right? We all have them. Right. Like, but it's, will I let those dictate my life? I mean, I personally still have things that come up and I have to work through them. I'm like, okay, what do you want? What do you want, Sax? Like, what do you want?
Right.
And it's like, okay, I want to do something different this time. And you just start doing that. I mean, this is part of being human.
Well, this is part of being human. It's part of being an adult. And I see a lot of the conversation we have around mental health and all this other stuff. Like, you have grown-ups, you have adults that are parents that have children that are not rewriting the story. And you have moms and dads who are viciously angry and bitter about their past and the hands that they've been dealt and their mom and their dad, and they're perpetuating that. Like moms and dads being angry at their parents and shit. And guess what happens to your kid? They don't like you and they're angry at you too. Like, guess who taught them that shit? Guess who showed them that shit? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have every reason. My dad, like I've shared the story and then I'll be done. Like when I was 20 years old and I was on my Mormon mission, I had like the greatest epiphany of my life. I've had a ton of them. This is a big one when I was on my mission. My father was raised by an alcoholic who abused them, who beat the shit out of him. I never met my grandfather. My grandfather left when my dad was 13, took off, right? But all my dad ever told me was that he used to beat the shit out of him and my grandma, right? That's what I know of my grandfather. Don't know anything more. That's it. My father was an alcoholic who used to freaking whoop the shit out of me and my brother and the whole thing. Cool, great. I was angry about that for a while. I was super pissed off about that. I was like, screw this guy, da-da-da-da, blah, 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 right? And if you're listening to this, I bet you there's a lot of people that are probably angry at somebody. You're probably angry at your mom. You're angry at your dad. They raised you wrong. They did this. They abused you. They didn't give you enough love, enough snuggles, enough hugs, enough whatever. And you're fucking angry at them. You're 30, 35, 40, 45 years old and you're fucking angry at your mom and your dad. The light bulb went on in my head and I was like, holy shit. My dad didn't know any better. My dad had never been loved. My dad didn't know how to love me. My dad didn't know how to like raise two boys. Like his dad beat the shit out of him. He truly didn't know. And now something happened in my brain. I could have been the victim and I could still be the victim 20 years later and be like, my dad should have known better. And a lot of you listening to this, like it's the same thing. You could be mad at me for saying words or this, that, or the other. You can look at it and go, okay, this is a real life human experience that we're having, right? Mm-hmm. And your mom and dad the idea is, well, they should have known better. My parents should have known better. What if they didn't? What if they didn't? Well, guess who that's on? You. Mm-hmm. It's on me to rewrite that narrative, to rewrite the story.
We know better.
Which is now why when the light bulb went on in my head, I truly went from being angry to having empathy for my father. Mm-hmm. I realized, holy crap, dude, my dad didn't know how to love me. My ego says he should have. My ego's like, you should have known. You should have done better. He didn't know how to do better. I do. It's on me to rewrite the story. It's on you listening to rewrite the damn story. If you're angry at your mom and your dad, guess what your kids are going to be? Angry at their mom and dad. You want your kids to turn out better than you and to love and to have compassion? Show them love and compassion. You want your kids to like have a different reality and like truly change course of your family. Mm-hmm. As Ed Milet talks about, being the one. I am the one in my family rewriting the entire narrative, the entire game, the entire story.
For sure.
So I have empathy for that. I get the mental health. I get the people who have trauma. You've been villainized. You've been victimized. You've been abused. I get all that. I understand that. But at some point in time, you've got to plant your damn flag in the ground and say, I'm going to write a different story. My life will be different than my mother's, my father's, my parents, whatever. I'm going a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
And then do the work to do it. Period.
Yeah, that's kind of a vague question, so you got a really broad answer. But it's a good question.
That's a long answer to a question, but I think that's
I think that's really great.
Place. Guys, thanks for your questions. We really appreciate it. This was a fun episode. We really love the Q&A, and somebody did ask if we're going to do some of these live. I think we should one of these days. I think once we launch All In, we should start doing some like live Q&As. It's kind of scary.
Well, All In is launched.
Weird stuff.
When we start doing maybe date night with Sean and Sax, we'll do them.
We've got some really fun stuff coming, friends. We love you. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers. Bye.
Love you. Bye.